All right, I got my new camera, so hopefully things are looking good. Now, something I wanted to talk about for a while is these little patterns that you see in comic books. Obviously, comic books are a bit different from a lot of other forms of media in that they come out over large expanses of time in great volumes. So basically, right, like even if they're only coming out once a month, you're getting 12 comic book issues a year. And many of the very popular ones, like Amazing Spider Man, will often come out twice a month, in which case you result in 24 issues a year. And that's not even counting any like crossover issues, any big events that happen, or appearances in other people's titles that characters like Spider Man will appear in. That being said, it kind of combines with the fact that Marvel wants to be immortal, right? Like pretty much most comic book industries, the goal is to literally be like unending, as far as I can tell, as they've been coming out for over 60 years at this point. That being the case, so much lore, so much story and world building happen. And whether that's for the good or for the worse completely depends on who you are and what types of stories you value, what kind of writing you find good. In general, I'm here to have a good time with the characters and universe I love. So let's keep existing. And if there's story arcs we don't like, there's story arcs we don't like. I mean, even Sins Past got retconned. So yeah. Anyways, point is today there are these parallels or patterns that can appear across not only one form of media like comic books, but it'll extend to the movies and games largely due to the inspiration that is shared between them at this point. And whether that's intentional or not, it will be there. So you get to see these patterns or through lines. And I do think in many ways, these types of things are intentional just due to theming, right? Like most authors care about some sort of thematic relevance in their plots. Um, and so when you have this network of a shared character, these authors taking inspiration from other authors that came before them, they want to keep some sort of consistency going, obviously. Yeah, so we might have like a little, I don't know if I should call it like a series, but every now and then when I catch something, think of something I want to yap about, I'll probably just, hop on and make these one of these like, did you catch this pattern kind of things. So what are we talking about today? We're focusing on the villain Otto Octavius, also known as Dr. Octopus, who is one of the like, you might consider him one of the big three of Spider-Man villains. I typically see Otto Octavius, Norman Osborn slash the Green Goblin, and Venom, or just symbiote problems in general, be like the big three of Spider-Man antagonists. And whether you agree with that or not, it is very big in public perception. I think, like, no matter what, Dr. Octopus is one of the most vital or pivotal characters in Spider-Man as far as villains go. And the theme here is that he's often associated with storylines, even if he's not directly involved with it. He, as a character, is associated with storylines in which Spider Man is grappling with whether or not he even wants to be a hero or is being faced with some sort of option or pressure to give up, like herodom, right? And it's just interesting how many times that aligns. This goes all the way back to 1963, which is of course Spider-Man's first. Technically, he existed in 1962, but it's his first year of existence in the sense that he has his own magazine title at this point for the first time. And yeah, he fights Otto Octavius in issue 3, and Otto beats him. He, first encounter, he beats him, and this is the age of comics where the villains like reliably underestimate the hero. So he knocks him out pretty much, and then tosses him out of the building that they were fighting, and it was like the nuclear uh, plant or research facility that the accident happened in that fused the arms to Doc Ock, or well, they weren't necessarily fused; they were able to be removed. The comic book lore is an interesting thing. But yeah, basically it altered his mind a little, did give the neural link between his arms and his brain. Spider-Man fights him there, Doc beats the crap out of him, tosses him out. This is a young Peter. He is in high school. He's either 16 or 17. He is quickly a senior in high school, which correlates best to the age 17 in America. But it's possible he was a junior. The timeline of the early comics is a little hard to follow because it parallels the real world timeline so accurately back then, which we can talk about in a different video. But yeah, so Peter's young is the point, right? He's still a boy. He's more importantly, he's super new to being a superhero. And yeah, he's beaten this badly. He hasn't suffered defeat like this before. He in this age, especially this era of comics, Spider-Man is very self-confident, very, very almost like haughty in the way that he portrays himself to his villains, at least, right? Like when he's behind the mask and whatnot. So yeah, getting beaten like this by a mad scientist who has these like seemingly like indestructible arms really, really shakes him. And it gets so much into his mind, the fact that he was defeated, that he seriously considers not being Spider-Man anymore. And he almost like just enacts that out by just like not trying to get it out of his mind, like expel Spider-Man for out of his mind for a bit. He is wrestling with it. It's not like an easy decision, as usually is the case when Peter, you know, gives up the mantle or considers giving up the mantle. But yeah, in any case, he legitimately thinks that this is the end of Spider-Man. He talks about, he considers it, he's distraught about it. He's scared. Like it makes sense. Your first big lashing, like you could die. Like I feel like that's what's going through his head. And if he dies, of course, it's not just on him. Like Aunt May suffering another death in the family, being financially like bereft, that is going to all but kill her, considering her illnesses, her weak heart condition, right? So yeah, Peter has more than just his own existence at stake too, which always plays a factor in his drive for survival. And this Otto Octavius thing, it was the first time that he faced death for real. Like you could say, like a lot of people, I've heard the phrase "the vulture fight" is Peter's first trial by fire. In a way, it is, but again, he wasn't beaten this badly, this like plainly, right? And Doc Ock was so confident that he just tosses him off like nothing. The whole situation is very had the nuances of a like striking defeat. Spider-Man was out for the count on this one. But yeah, so that was Dr. Octopus's first introduction, very early on in Spider-Man timeline, obviously, and we already have this moment directly tied to Otto of Spider-Man wanting to quit, Peter not wanting to be Spider-Man anymore, and this continues on. It's at the end of that year or midway through 1964. Sinister Six debut. It's the first Amazing Spider-Man Annual, and yeah, that iconic team appears for the first time in there. Of course, they're assembled and puppeted by Otto Octavius. This is also the first time, I mentioned in a prior video, he takes on that mantle of the master planner, right? He doesn't run around calling himself that yet. That's not until the If This Be My Destiny arc. But yeah, so it's kind of the first time he's the master planning, but he's orchestrating these events. Happening alongside this is Peter having what I call a crisis of faith moment. He's so like imbued with guilt after recalling the tragedy of Uncle Ben's death, the role he played in it, how he could have prevented it but didn't. He feels that Uncle Ben's blood and Aunt May's grief is on his hands to some extent. The classic Spider-Man grief and guilt, right? We love to see it. But this causes a psychosomatic reaction within him that literally puts like a mental block on his powers. For any cinema fans, you're instantly thinking of, the iconic movie Spider-Man 2, and we'll talk about that in a second. And now that has nothing to do with Otto, right, directly. But nonetheless, Otto is like the main villain, so to speak, of this issue, and it's happening in it, right? It's the event of Spider-Man being stripped of his powers, even though it's all in the head, right? It's still for like a day there, he genuinely believed his powers had vanished. It caused him to be plunged into this like philosophical thought of what on earth he's going to do with his life. And Otto's the main villain. So while the last time it was directly tied to something Otto physically did to Spider-Man, this time he's around the story. And I am counting him just being around the story because of how many times it has happened in like very important plot threads. There are certainly other instances. I'm not saying this is exclusive to Otto or there's not more instances of Otto. I'm just presenting a pattern that I've noticed. But yeah, so now we can finally, properly talk about Spider-Man 2. And that one we can kind of go by quickly just because it parallels very directly the Sinister Six moment where it is all in Peter's head. There's a big romantic element in the movie that is absent from the comics. I know Betty Brant is abducted by Otto in that issue, but the nuance is different. He's trying to save Betty. She's tried to do it before and been fine with it. But in the movies, his feelings are all tied up in a jumble with Mary Jane. He also, for other personal reasons, social reasons, often he has this desire to not be Spider-Man. That's always kind of lingering in the back of his head, but it was really flaring up in the wake of his relationship in shambles with just like generally everybody knowing Peter Parker. But yeah, so all of that once again contributed to him having that mental block on his powers. They make jokes about it in No Way Home, which was kind of funny to see. But yeah, he just, stripped of his powers, and who is the main villain? Like, not like, unequivocally the main villain, like it's not even a Sinister Six situation. It is Otto Octavius, which again harkens back to Amazing Spider-Man 3, it harkens back to Sinister Six, and obviously the wider, other elements draw from Amazing Spider-Man 50 as well. But yeah, Dr. Octopus, totally present. Otto Octavius, the main villain of the movie. Once again, we see Peter grappling with whether he wants to be Spider-Man or not, and at least on the big screen, right? That's the primo example of such a moment. I think most people hail that movie as one of the best, right? I believe one of the best Spider-Man films, and maybe even one of the best superhero films. It is very glazed online, Spider-Man 2. But moving on, we now have one of my favorite arcs of all time, the Master Planner arc, or the If This Be My Destiny arc, the final chapter, whatever you want to call it. It has that iconic scene that we've seen in two other forms of media, the Tom Holland movie and the Spectacular Spider-Man show. The heaps of metal fall on Spider-Man, the water's rising, Medicine or Gwen or whatever is just out of reach, depending on what continuity you're following, and he has to remove this insurmountable weight from him. Now, he doesn't exactly quit or not want to be Spider-Man in it. It's kind of complicated. Aunt May is suffering in the comic book line due to his radioactive blood being shared with her, so that there is an element there of like, oh man, if only as a normal person. But like we said, that is a recurring element across almost every issue or every major storyline in the Amazing Spider-Man. That's just par for the course. But what we do get is the test, right? We have that tons of metal on him, like this very insurmountable feeling weight. And can Peter do it? Is he up to the test? In Spectacular Spider-Man, he tries to offer himself excuses. Oh, I foiled Doc's plan. I did my best, right? And he almost justifying if he just dies here. And in the comic books, it's not worded in the exact same way. I do think the dialogue is a bit more natural in the Spectacular Spider-Man series, but it is far more dramatic in the comic books. I like both. It's like whatever. It's comic book world. You got to get the cool superhero moments, no matter how you really think someone wouldn't be saying that all so articulately, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, the point is he up to the task? Spider-Man will either end or evolve, right? Like find that inner well of strength. And that is, in a way, thematically what the other issues and storylines have encompassed. In Amazing Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man had to be revitalized by encouragement from Johnny Storm, the Human Torch of all people, one of his little friendly rivals there. In Sinister Six, he had to restore his self-worth and confidence before he had his powers back. And here it's very similar, right? Like he has to believe that he can do it. He has to put everything he has, and he has to not quit, not give up in order to remove the metal from him. And he succeeds. And I mean, Otto got away, but like he succeeds, he survives. And once again, who is the overarching villain of that story thread? It was Otto Octavius, the Master Planner, Dr. Octopus. And once again, it keeps going. This is why I noticed this, because this keeps coming up. In the 90s cartoon, just called Spider-Man, I believe, we get Spider-Man's origin story. I talked about this in one of my prior videos. Definitely go check it out, where I mentioned all of my favorite iterations of communicating the Spider-Man origin story. But we get the, Tiana? Is it something like that? I forget her name. It's the little girl in the children's hospital that's like the #1 Spider-Man fan that he goes over to see. They get all wrapped up in a conversation in which he is revealing that he's done being Spider-Man. Peter's current state of psychology and like his psychological and emotional state, right, is leading him to believe he should quit being Spider-Man, to which his #1 fan, the little girl, pleads with him not to. And then a whole storyline unfolds where he loses his memory, gets forced amnesia basically by Dr. Octopus. He manipulates him to be a partner in crime, and basically the little girl has to not only restore his mind, but restore his faith in himself as a hero. All the same themes we've mentioned, very, through lines of thematic parallel. And once again, Dr. Octopus is the main villain. A huge elephant in the room would be the Superior Spider-Man arc, in which Otto literally commandeers Peter's body for a good number of issues. And, he dubs himself the Superior Spider-Man. And it very much does seem like the idea that they're playing on is like, is Otto genuinely superior? And obviously the answer ends up being no. Peter Parker's the one and only Spider-Man of the mainline Marvel universe, or one and only, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, and once again, Dr. Octopus is obviously, he's the main character. Like, he's the, like, for all intents and purposes, he's the protagonist of the Spider-Man series for a while after that event takes place. And the whole thing is kind of proving that you can be like operate under this. I'm statistically better. I'm doing things in a more cut line, streamlined way. I am the superior Spider-Man, and still there's something that you're lacking, something that the original Spider-Man can only have. Like it can't be replicated by anyone else under the mask, right? It's hard to say. Among comic book fans, like diehard comic book fans, I would say the Superior Spider-Man stuff is probably what Otto is best known for now. Like other than his trademark tentacles and stuff, obviously. But I mean, as far as a big storyline he's involved with, I feel like I really don't know how you can hear Otto's name and not immediately, in some way, think of Superior Spider-Man. But once again, there's like I said, there's many themes in that that connect to these other stories that involve Peter quitting being Spider-Man, Peter being removed from the equation, right? All that stuff, and it's just continually Otto Octavius. And I guess why does it matter? It doesn't really, but it just, again, it shows that through line. It shows the parallels, the connections that I feel like these different authors want to make, how the sources of inspiration are very much from those early days in which concepts are established and created that go on to be like the signature of certain elements of Spider-Man. And Dr. Octopus just being a recurring character amongst these very like themes that are very obvious in your face during those arcs just keeps happening, and it's happened over the years. I just something I've noticed, and something I wanted to yap about a bit in this video. um, I guess all that's left that I could say on this would be like, why is Otto really such an important villain? Not only has he been involved in such a large amount of important and foundational Spider-Man stories, he's one of the most iconic villains. He's also, I believe, like he's designed to be in some ways a foil to Spider-Man, if that makes sense. He's an octopus, Spider-Man's an arachnid, right? Like conceptually, octopuses are known for 8 tentacles, spiders are known for 8 legs, like the arachnids, right? He's a mad scientist, a genius person. Peter's also a science whiz. He made mechanical appendages to help himself that are around an animal themed thing. Spider-Man made his web fluid as an additional techie thing to further establish his like animal kingdom avatar, right? These two characters are very, I don't want to say equal opposite, but they have these noticeable parallels in concept to both of them that I think make them very good just clashes, like very good foils to one another. um, they both got the meat of their powers through an accident involving radioactivity, like that's pretty huge when you think of their origin story actually as well. um, yeah, I really, that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know what you think of Dr. Octopus. Let me know what you think of this pattern. I think one of my favorite stories is when Peter has to overcome his own mind, like the battle within, right? Like everyone loves that story, to keep being the best hero you can be. Definitely let me know if you can think of any others involving Dr. Octopus. Those are just the big ones I could come up with. I didn't have time to comb the entirety of Spider-Man lore, so if you have any other any ideas of Otto being involved in that, just to keep the pattern going, right? Keep up the momentum. But yeah, if you like my methods of storytelling, guys, I'm super excited if you check out my book series. The physical versions are available on Amazon, and if you become a channel member of the Lore Totem tier, you can access the audiobook episodes I'm making of them. They come out weekly with new ones, so you can listen to them there. And something you can do to support me for free, joining the Discord server, checking out the podcast I co-host with my sister. I do variety lore content. All that is super helpful, makes me super happy. Subscribing, liking, commenting, all the fun YouTube algorithm stuff is, a very simple way to boost this channel. Links to everything are in the description. I hope you'll visit my web again soon, and until then, keep spinning yours.